Hi, Assassins!
I'm Brooke.
And I'm Cami.
And
welcome to Bookish Realms.
Today's episode continues our Throne of Glass series deep dive, starting with chapters 25 through 34. We can't believe we're basically halfway through Throne of Glass. For this episode, the chapter summaries and character discussion are spoiler-free, but the rest of the pod does include spoilers for all of Throne of Glass. This podcast is for mature audiences only. Cami, take it away, girl.
Chapter summaries. Let's get into some chapter summaries. As a reminder, this is a non-spoiler section, so if you haven't finished Throne of Glass, but you have read chapters 25 through 34, you can listen to this section. Chapter 25. Selena slips into a dream, or is it, and finds herself wandering through a hidden passage that leads straight to a spooky tomb. Not just any tomb, though. This is Elena, the first Queen of Otterland's final resting place. Word marks cover the place, and she even finds Gavin's legendary sword, Damaris. Then things get super weird. Elena's ghost appears, warning Selena that some major evil is creeping through the castle and that she has to win the competition. Before vanishing, Elena gives Selena an amulet and tells her to run. When Selena wakes up, the amulet is still in her hand. So yeah, definitely not a dream. Chapter 26. Barely awake from her bizarre tomb adventure, Selena's morning gets worse when Kale storms into her room, all official business, to drag her out of bed. Turns out one of the champions, Xavier, has been found half-eaten. Ew. And Kale wants answers. Selena's like, do I look like I snack on humans? But keeps her cool, secretly panicking about the night before. With training cancelled, Selena sneaks back to the tombs to investigate, but finds nothing. So much for spooky clues. Chapter 27. Selena and Nehemia dive into some girl talk about creepy gargoyles and the mysterious word marks. Just as they're bonding, Kane shows up with some serious attitude, throwing shade and showing he knows a little too much about Selena's past. Later, Dorian and Kale are watching Selena train. Dorian's obviously crushing hard, while Kale's more worried about her temper. She stumbles upon a creepy book called The Walking Dead, and Kale, who suddenly develops a sense of humor, starts making spooky noises. Selena's not amused. Chapter 28. Selena's not having the best luck with billiards, until Dorian strolls in to save the day. Cue some flirty banter, laughter, and cake. The two spend the night playing and flirting, with Dorian winning every game, but Selena's having too much fun to care. By the end, Dorian drops her real name for the first time. Our boy is crushing so hard. Chapter 29. The pressure is on as Selena watches Kane absolutely destroy his opponent in the next test. Worse, he knows she's not Lillian Gordania, and that's not sitting well with her. Varen tries to get under her skin, but Selena snaps, taking him down easily and impressing the crowd. Later, she's feeling lonely and thinking about Sam and missing the past. Meanwhile, Kaltain's over at court, plotting her next move to get closer to Dorian while dealing with a killer headache. Chapter 30. Selena confides in Kale, revealing that Kane knows her real identity, which definitely complicates things. But they're interrupted by another murder. This time, Varen's body is found mutilated with word marks nearby. Later, Dorian stops by while Selena's studying word marks, and they bond over their frustrations and love for music. Meanwhile, Kale's picking up on Duke Parrington's weird behavior at dinner, but for now, brushes it off. Chapter 31. Selena's jolted awake by Elena's ghostly voice, whispering, "Look to your right." The next test? A poison-identifying challenge, and conveniently, a competitor named Paylor is standing on her right. He secretly helps her pick the correct goblet, and thanks to Elena's cryptic clue, Selena wins the test. Even though she's still skeptical about taking ghostly advice, it's hard to argue with the results. Chapter 32. Selena and Nehemia are deep into their lessons, secretly chatting in Eelway, because private language equals next-level friendship. Nehemia senses something's off with Selena, but Selena brushes it off like it's no big deal. They explore the castle together, and then Dorian shows up with a puppy he plans to have killed. What? Selena puts her foot down and insists on saving the little guy, and Dorian, of course, agrees. As night falls, Selena spots Kane acting super sketchy and warns her friends to stay locked in their rooms for the night. Chapter 33. Kaltain's up to no good, scheming her way to power while hiding her opium addiction. She's hinting that Selena's background might not be so noble, feeling the pressure to make her move for Dorian soon. Elsewhere, Nehemia's heartbroken over the news of a massacre of Eelway rebels, and she finds solace in Celaena's arms, weeping for her people. Chapter 34. Celaena is in agony with cramps when Chaol shows up. Awkward timing, Chaol. After an oh no moment, he bails, but Dorian arrives soon after to cheer her up. They banter, play cards, and Dorian teases her about the steamy book she's reading. Even assassins like a little smut. In the midst of this, Dorian opens up about his frustrations over the rebel massacre, and Celaena does her best to reassure him. His feelings for her are growing, but he's still trying to hide them behind his usual humor. These chapters wrap up with Celaena reflecting on not being invited to the Yulmus Ball and the tragic fate of the Eelway rebels.
Character discussion. Here we'll cover what we've learned about each main character and track their character development. This section is also spoiler-free. Celaena. First up, our girl Celaena. We really see her layers in these chapters. On one hand, she's this brilliant, analytical badass who can read a crime scene like our good sis Olivia Benson. But she's also a softie, which comes when she's defending that puppy or comforting Nehemia. These chapters are when I really started to love Celaena, and we also start to see the personality traits that become more important later on. But what really got me was when she was opening up about music. She said, "When I play, I'm not destroying, I'm creating." It's clear she's still wrestling with her past and her time in Endovir, and all the events that led her to be Adarlan's greatest assassin. Celaena is also dealing with her feelings for Dorian. She's literally said, "I would sooner cut my own heart out than love a Haviliard." Their little moment at that pool table says otherwise, though. Speaking of Dorian, our prince is going through it. He's caught between his growing feelings for Celaena and his guilt over his father's actions. There's this moment where he says, "I can't call myself a man when I allow my father to encourage such unforgivable atrocities." He's really waking up to the realities of his kingdom, and it's hitting him hard. Then we've got Chaol. He's trying to do his job, but he's also clearly catching feelings for Celaena, which is complicated to say the least. And Chaol doesn't do complicated. He also shows empathy for the conquered territories, which is in direct contrast with his usual blind loyalty. And that's on character growth. Nehemia is breaking my heart in these chapters when she says, "What is the point of being Princess of Eelway if I cannot help my people?" I just wanted to reach through the pages and give my good sis a hug. She's trying so hard to play the political game while also staying true to her people. It's a tough balance, and we're really seeing the toll it's taking on her. We also see how close Celaena and Nehemia are getting and how their friendship is developing. Now, for some side characters. Cain is getting creepier and bigger by the minute. If steroids existed in Aurelia, he'd definitely be on them. He also gets a sick sense of pleasure from taunting Celaena about her past in Endovir. And lastly, we've got Kaltain, who's playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. She's scheming to climb the social ladder, but she's also battling these intense headaches and a growing opium addiction. It's messy, and I'm kind of here for it. Our characters are growing, struggling, and making questionable decisions, left and right.
Section 3, World Building. Let's explore this world. Here we cover the main world-building elements that come up in chapters 25 through 34. We'll revisit these places and world-building elements in other episodes. For today, this section is not spoiler-free, so if you haven't finished the entire series, please do not continue. But please come back when you have. Today, we're going to unpack the mysterious and magical concept of the word and word marks. Word marks are described as an ancient alphabet or system of symbols. They're not just historical artifacts. We see them appearing in crucial locations throughout the story, in Elena's tomb, at crime scenes, and around the clock tower. The recurring presence of the word marks this early on in the series shows us how important they will become to the plot. These marks serve a greater purpose than just writing. According to the lore, word marks can be used to access word gates, which are essentially portals to other realms. As the text says, they open into other realms, some of them good, some of them bad. This introduces us to the Massverse, which we can't wait to delve into in our standalone episodes. The word itself is portrayed as a cosmic force governing not just Aurelia, but multiple worlds. Interestingly, some theories even suggest that the mother goddess entered this world through a word gate, adding a layer of mythology to the world's history. It's worth noting that word marks aren't just simple doodles. They're described as painfully difficult to draw and require precise angles and lengths. Moreover, their meanings can shift depending on the surrounding marks, indicating an intricate and nuanced system of magic or communication. One wrong stroke, and who knows, you might accidentally summon a demon creature. An intriguing aspect of word marks is the lack of common knowledge about them. Celaena seems surprised by what she's learning in her research, suggesting this information isn't widely known. Also, some characters appear reluctant to discuss word marks. When Selena asks Nehemia about them, she kind of avoids the topic entirely. She curtly says, no, when asked if she can read them, and then adds, and you shouldn't try to discover what they say. Nothing good will come of it. This is a lie, though, as Nehemia reveals her ability to use the word marks when Selena is bitten by the Ritterak. But Selena is able to find books about word marks in the castle library. This suggests that while information about them may be rare, it's not entirely suppressed or censored. As the series progresses, it becomes clear that understanding the word marks is crucial not only to Selena/Aylin's journey, but to unraveling the very fabric of the world Mas has built. They're more than just symbols, they're keys to immense power, secrets, and even controlling life and death. And remember, the word is a force beyond understanding. It's ancient, it's cosmic, and it binds together not just Aurelia, but entire universes. We've only scratched the surface of the mysteries behind the word and word marks. There's so much more to uncover, and we will revisit word marks as we continue deep diving the series.
Analysis, foreshadowing. This is our analysis and foreshadowing section, which is not spoiler-free. We'll break down parts of the text that tie into or foreshadow future events in the series. If you have not read all of Throne of Glass, please do not continue. In previous episodes, we divided this section into 3 parts: Selena's past, Selena's future, and our villains. But that was starting to limit us, so we're going to follow a more open format.
The tomb. Let's start with Selena's dream about Elena's tomb. The description of the tomb is so vivid. The moonlight, the sarcophagi, the word marks everywhere. It's eerie and beautiful at the same time. And the way SJM describes Elena's sarcophagus is stunning. Her hair, long and wavy, spilled around her head and tumbled over the side of the lid, so lifelike that Selena could have sworn it was real.
It's almost like Elena is just sleeping. It's also in contrast with Gavin's sarcophagus. The text notes, why was the woman's face bathed in moonlight and the man's in darkness? In history, Gavin is the hero, but Elena is the one who truly sealed Erewhon away. It makes sense why the tomb Gavin built puts her in the spotlight because he knows the true history. Selena quickly identifies that the tomb belongs to Elena Galathenia Savillard because of the pointed, arched ears on her tomb statue. We're not clued in on this until later, but this is her ancestor. Elena is the first princess of Terrasen and is half Fae. Visiting this tomb adds a whole new layer to the world.
Side note, this is also the first mention of how Aelin and Dorian are low-key distantly related, but we're not going to dwell on that too much.
And it also ties Selena so intimately into the history of Terrasen. I mean, she's literally walking in the footsteps of the first queen of Otterland, who was originally from Terrasen. It's like her past is calling her name, Selena. Amen.
Selena also takes note of the mark on Elena's brow, which is Brandon's mark or the Nameless mark, which is tied into the prophecy that will follow Aelin and Dorian through the end of the book. This is the mark that we talked about last episode, which we're pretty sure Nehemia could see on Selena's brow. This mark is a symbol of her family's debt to the gods.
And we also have to touch on the reversal of the sky and the earth. The book says, her mouth fell open. It was covered in stars, raised carvings that mirrored the night sky, and the ceiling depicted the earth. Why were they reversed? Later, we found out that this wasn't just a strange design choice.
Right. In Crown of Midnight, the text says, everything in the tomb was backward, rearranged, the natural order in reverse, to hint that things were jumbled, misarranged.
The inscription at Elena's feet, times rift, turns out to be an anagram for I am the first, referring to the first word key.
I still want an times rift tattoo. I just like it.
The tomb really reminds them.
You don't like my tattoo idea?
No, literally just the way your shoulders,
times rift.
Your
I
shoulders
really like
went up. You were like,
times rift. I really like it.
Sure, girl, do your thing. It's your body, your choice. The tomb really reminds us of Elena's role in all of this, and the way that this bitch is setting Selena up to be a sacrifice for her mistakes. Literally fuck her, but anyways.
Yeah, fuck her.
It also leads to Selena uncovering the fact that the king has at least one of the word keys and has been using it to stifle magic and control Aurelia. This scene doesn't just expand the world, it completely transforms the nature of Selena's mission.
And all of this was hinted at in that initial description of the tomb. The reversed sky and earth, the word marks, and even the mention of Damaris. It all ties into this larger story in the series.
I also think that it's super interesting that Damaris, which we learn later is the Sword of Truth, has not rusted in all this time.
Yeah, totally. It's a small detail, but it really stands out. I feel like it just screams that Damaris isn't any ordinary sword. Weapons don't just stay in perfect condition for years unless there's some serious power behind them. And given that Damaris is the sword of truth, the fact that it hasn't rusted could actually symbolize something deeper. I mean, truth itself is kind of timeless and unchanging, so it makes sense that the sword of truth would be immune to things like rusting. It's almost like the sword's condition is reflecting that idea. Truth doesn't wear out or get corrupted. But let's break down the first actual conversation that goes down between Elena and Selena. I love that their names sound so similar. Like I never caught it before. After warning Selena that the 8 gargoyles, or guardians, are distracted for now, Elena tells Selena a few things during this dream world conversation. Nothing is a coincidence. Everything has a purpose. Is this not the perfect definition of the entire Massverse?
Literally. But Elena also assures Selena that everything is as it should be. Selena was meant to come to the castle, meant to be an assassin, meant to be the king's champion, because she understands the people's plight. All in all, she's the people's princess. Well, queen, technically.
Again, this is all part of the prophecy.
There's so many what-ifs this early on, and it makes me wonder, what if Selena had said no to Dorian's proposition to come to Otterlin? What if Sam never died? What if she never got caught? What if she never went into the passages? So many pieces had to have fallen into place to make this prophecy happen, but would this have kind of happened anyways? Like, would Selena always end up here having this conversation with Elena?
Also, these things are what ultimately make Aelin a good queen. She has so much life experience even though she's very young. She does understand the people's plight. She was a slave herself. She's known grief and death and true struggle.
But back to their combo. Elena also says that something evil dwells in this castle, and Selena must destroy it. Elena says its malice echoes into all worlds.
Actually screaming. All worlds. We bookmarked this entire section for our Massverse episode.
Stay tuned for more. She ends it all by saying, "You were led here tonight, but not by me. I was led here too. Someone wants you to learn. Someone wants you to see."
We'll give Elena the benefit of the doubt here. Maybe she doesn't consider that the gods are who led them here because they're growing impatient and want to collect the debt they feel they're owed.
But also, maybe she's fucking lying. Did you ever think about that? She led Selena here to get this prophecy going. I don't know. I still really don't fuck with Elena.
Same here. Elena's motivations are so complex, and it's hard to tell if she's really helping Selena or just using her.
I'm going to take using her.
Yeah.
Word marks. In world building, we explored word marks, but let's break them down a little bit more. The word mark's significance is hinted at from the very first appearance in Elena's tomb. The way they cover the walls, forming large patterns, suggests a complexity beyond just decoration.
As Selena observes, the small word marks made up larger ones, and the larger ones made up even larger ones, until it seemed the entire room meant something she couldn't possibly understand. The word marks play a crucial role throughout the entire series, gradually evolving from a mysterious symbol system into a key part of the story's magic and mythology. They are far more than just ancient letters. They are tied to the very fabric of Aurelia and beyond, interwoven with the cosmic forces that shape the world.
As Selena/Aelin learn to use the word marks, they become a tool not only for the defense and strategy, but also for unlocking her destiny and fulfilling her prophecy. The power they hold is immense, capable of summoning ancient creatures, manipulating time and space, and even unlocking portals to other dimensions.
The word marks also symbolize the hidden layers of knowledge and power that Aelin must uncover to defeat her enemies. As the series progresses, it becomes clear that they're connected to the word keys, objects of tremendous power that, when used together, can either protect or destroy entire worlds.
As Selena/Aelin's journey unfolds, her growing understanding of the word marks parallel her own self-discovery and the unveiling of her true identity and destiny. The complexity and power of the word marks mirror her own potential and the weight of her role in the fate of not just Aurelia, but multiple worlds.
Their introduction early on foreshadows the 8th book roller coaster Aelin will undertake, reminding us that every stroke of a word mark is part of a larger cosmic game. Every symbol, every word, every seemingly small detail can have far-reaching consequences, echoing Elena's words. Nothing is a coincidence. Everything has a purpose. Xavier's murder.
Why did you move your head? Xavier's murder. Give yourself whiplash.
You know we never pass up an opportunity to boast about our queen. Her SVU detective skills are so impressive in this chunk of chapters. After Xavier's murder, Selena's walking down the hallway when she stumbles upon the crime scene.
And it's a nightmare fuel. I mean, the description of Xavier's body, half-eaten and missing organs. Yikes.
But what really struck me was how Selena handled it. She sees this horror show and doesn't even flinch. She's like, if I wanted to knock off my competitors one by one, I'd do it quick and clean. A slit throat, a knife in the heart, a poisoned glass of wine.
She's
So scary.
She's kind of scary. The way she's literally roasting the murderer is a little too much for me.
Exactly. She's critiquing the murder scene like, this is just tasteless.
And let's talk about that because it says so much about her character. Selena's an assassin, but she has some standards. There's this pride in her work. You know, like if she wanted someone dead, it's not going to be messy.
And then when she spots the word marks, you can tell she immediately realizes this is not an ordinary murder. Selena's always several steps ahead, even in the middle of a scene like this, and she's trying to piece everything together. The word marks make it clear there's something magical, maybe even ritualistic, about this murder. This is way bigger than just thinning out the competition. There's definitely some dark magic going on. And Selena knows it. She's so analytical and smart. Even though she doesn't fully understand the word marks yet, you can feel her wheels turning.
I think this is the moment when she starts to realize things are way more complicated than just winning this competition.
Caltain's headaches. And there's someone else plotting against Selena. In this set of chapters, we get the first mention of Caltain's headaches. These seem like a minor detail at first, but they're actually the first sign of a major twist in her storyline.
Caltain actually blames these headaches on her opium addiction at first. But Caltain is being controlled and manipulated by Parrington, using the magic and power from his black ring. But the power has a price and started taking its toll on Caltain, making her feel drained and giving her headaches.
In Queen of Shadows, though, Caltain gets her revenge on Parrington using her badass shadow fire.
As she blows that bitch.
We love it when they blow a bitch up. Fuck. When they blow bitch up.
Oh, period. My job is blowing bitch up.
My job is bitch.
Oh, we're so funny. Cain and the Valg. Let's dive into this moment with Cain and Selena in chapter 32. Because honestly, this is one of those key scenes where you realize something really strange is happening.
It's a total shift from their usual dynamic. Cain's normally this arrogant, taunting presence, always making fun of Selena, trying to intimidate her. But here, he's completely different.
Look at how he's described. He's panting, clutching his throat, his eyes are wide, like he's terrified of something. This isn't the Cain we've come to expect.
And I think that's because this is a moment where the real Cain is trying to break free. We know later on that Cain is possessed by a Valg, and it seems like the real Cain is struggling to regain control.
The panic on his face isn't aimed at Selena. It's like he's trying to communicate with her, but the Valg inside of him won't let him.
Yes, that line where he grips his throat tighter, his grip on his throat tightened as if to silence the words that fought to come out. That is so telling. It's like Cain's body is being controlled, but he's still in there somewhere, trying to warn Selena. The Valg is literally choking him to stop him from saying something important.
One of my favorite lines from the whole series. Witch Killer, the human, is still inside of him. And we can't ignore the ebony ring here, which is our major clue that Cain is Valged up, baby. There's other signs, too, that Cain is Valged up. He's becoming stronger and more monstrous throughout the competition. And Selena even notices that he seems to have packed on more muscle, which is connected to his summoning of the Ritterak. And then he ends this weird interaction by sprinting away.
Gotta go, girl, gotta go.
And that last part where Selena tells Nox and
Pelor. And Dovier.
And Dovier.
Pelor.
Sounds like a perfume or something.
I think it's Pelor.
Pelor. And that last part where Selena tells Nox and Pelor to stay in their rooms and not open the door for anyone. She senses something dark is about to go down, even if she doesn't have all the pieces yet.
This whole scene is packed with foreshadowing. We see hints of the Valg's influence, Cain's growing power, and the looming danger. All of this comes to a head by the end of the book.
Dorian. This section of chapters ends with a really interesting conversation between Dorian and Selena. There is so much going on here, especially with Dorian. We get such a deep look into his inner struggle, and this is really where we start to see some major foreshadowing for his rebellion against his father.
Yeah, I mean, the scene opens with Dorian reflecting on how his father's soldiers massacred 500 rebels in Eelway, and he's devastated. It's a huge moment for him because, for the first time, he's acknowledging how complicit he's been. And we get that really powerful line from Dorian. I can't call myself a man when I allow my father to encourage such unforgivable atrocities. It's such a pivotal moment for his character. He's finally realizing that if he stands by and does nothing, he's just as guilty as his father. And you can see the foreshadowing here. This moment is really setting him up to eventually rebel.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is that this chapter also brings Dorian so close to understanding Celaena's past. He says, I know something terrible happened to you when you were young. Something perhaps of my father's own doing. Like he's getting so close to the truth, but he's just quite not there yet.
And what's amazing is that he knows Celaena is from Terrasen, which was his father's first conquest. So he's already piecing together that her hatred of Otterland runs deep. The fact that Dorian acknowledges her scars, those 3 giant scars on her back, as a reminder of his father's brutality is such a huge moment for their relationship. He's starting to see her pain for what it really is.
And you can tell that Dorian's guilt is eating him up inside. He even says, I understand why you have such ease when killing my kind, and I don't blame you for it. He's starting to see why Celaena has become so hardened, and he doesn't resent her for it. There's this empathy growing between them, and it's really important for both of their characters.
It's really so representative of the way their relationship ends up developing by the end of the series. They come to really understand each other as 2 people who are asked to pay the ultimate price for their kingdoms. They come to understand each other as king and queen, but also as friends.
Not me about to cry in the club. Moments like this really deepen their dynamic. And speaking of Dorian's guilt, we can't ignore how this chapter is foreshadowing his rebellion. He flat out says, even if I pleaded for clemency on behalf of the conquered kingdoms, my father wouldn't listen. Not in this world. It's like he knows he's not ready to stand up to his father yet. But we know that this moment is setting the stage for him to do just that later in the series.
Dorian's confession of powerlessness here is huge. He's still stuck under his father's thumb, but he's realizing that he wants to be different. It's just a matter of when he'll finally make the leap. And we know that when he does, it's a game changer. He blows the glass castle to smithereens and kills his father.
This chapter brings Dorian closer to the truth about Celaena's past, while also showing us that he's on the path to becoming the kind of man who can actually stand up to his father.
Celaena's period. Never thought I'd talk about this on a podcast. This next scene dives into a really important moment for Celaena. After enduring the physical trauma of near starvation during her time in Endovir, we see her body starting to recover. It's during a quiet evening when she's in her room that the reality of her healing hits home. Her period returns, a sign of both her recovery and the incredible stress she's still under.
It also reminds us that despite her title as Otterland's assassin, she's still a young woman dealing with very human struggles.
Then there's Kale, who is clearly concerned about her, but totally misses the mark at first. His assumption that she's upset because of the rebels shows his caring nature, but it makes his later realization even more funny. The line, by the word, you're really sick, aren't you? Is where his cluelessness comes to light, especially once he learns it's just her period.
His embarrassment shows us a softer, more human side to Kale that's endearing and unintentionally funny. The tough, stoic captain of the guard, brought to a near panic by something as simple as a period. It's a light moment that humanizes both of them. Something else of note in this part is that after Kale leaves, Dorian comes in and is playing games with Celaena and really just occupying her time. This reflects how Dorian and Kale's relationship changes when they find out Celaena is really Aelin. Dorian will always love all of Celaena/Aelin, whereas Kale picks and chooses which parts of her to love. Which Dorian says you can't pick and choose what parts of her to love. So,
yeah.
We love him.
He's a king.
Literally.
Oh, yeah. Literally. And she's a queen. Literally. Favorite quotes. And lastly, our favorite quotes. These are moments in these chapters that we just really love. This shit had me kicking my feet and giggling when I read it, mostly because I'm rereading Crown of Midnight to prepare for our next episodes. One of my absolute favorite moments happens right after Xavier gets murdered. Kale is asking Celaena where she was the previous night, and he says, just tell me plainly, where were you last night? Celaena, being her usual witty self, replies, as my guards can attest, I was here the entire night. Though, if the king wants me questioned, I can always tell him that you can vouch for me too. And then Kale, the ever-serious captain of the guard, glances at her ring and blushes. It's so adorable because Kale is always so composed, and here he is getting flustered over the fact that she's still wearing the ring he gave her. And now that I'm rereading Crown of Midnight, this scene takes on a whole new meaning. Later on, after Kale and Selena finally get together, yes, finally, he confesses to her that he's been falling for her since giving her the amethyst ring. He says, "The Yulmus ball, maybe earlier, maybe even Samhain, when I brought you this ring. But Yulmus was the first time I realized I didn't like the idea of you with someone else." Like, how cute is that? He's basically been into her since giving her the ring, and here he is blushing just because he notices she's still wearing it. It's such a small, sweet moment, but it's so meaningful. Kale, who's usually so guarded and serious, is all bashful around her. It's such a great detail that makes me love their dynamic even more, and it's definitely one of my favorite moments in the series. It kind of makes me miss when I ship them. Okay, I have one more, and honestly, this one had me gnawing at the bars of my enclosure. The tension, the banter, the chemistry between Selena and Dorian is off the charts. Dorian's visiting Selena after Kale informs him of her condition, aka having her period. She starts by kicking him out. "Out, out, out. Leave me be and go womanize someone else." She grabbed a book and chucked it at him. He caught it before it broke his nose, and her eyes widened. "I didn't mean, that wasn't an attack. It was a joke. I didn't mean to actually hurt you, Your Highness," she said in a jumble. "I'd hoped that Otterland's assassin would choose to attack me in a more dignified manner, at least with a sword or a knife, though preferably not in the back." She clutched her belly and bent over. Sometimes she hated being a woman. Here we go. "It's Dorian, by the way, not Your Highness." "Very well. Say it." "Say what?" "Say my name." "Say, 'Very well, Dorian.' If it pleases your magnanimous holiness, I shall call you by your first name." When he says, "Say it. Say my name. Say, 'Very well, Dorian,' I swear I needed medical attention. Like, the confidence and the way he's playfully demanding her attention is just so spicy. It's giving shadow hands.
Well, we love it.
This whole exchange is so cute and flirty, and it's just one of those moments that makes their dynamic so fun to watch unfold. Like, just kiss already. Brooke, take it away.
Buckle up, because this is kind of long, but it's worth it. This is where Selena meets Fleetfoot for the first time, or otherwise known as one of Dorian's bitches. Quote, Nehemia pointed to the corner. "Is that dog sick?" she asked. There was a fifth pup, a bit larger than the others, and its coat was silky, silvery gold that shimmered in the shadows. It opened its dark eyes as if it knew it was being spoken about, and watched them. It was a beautiful animal, and had Selena not known better, she would have thought it purebred. "It's not sick," Dorian said. "It just has a foul disposition. It won't come near anyone, human or canine." "With good reason," Selena said, stepping over the legs of the crown prince and nearing the fifth pup. "Why should it touch someone like you?" "If it won't respond to humans, then it'll have to be killed," Dorian said, offhandedly, and a spark went through Selena. "Kill it? Kill it? For what reason? What did it do to you?" "It won't make a suitable pet, which is what all these dogs will become. So you'd kill it because of its temperament? It can't help being that way." She looked around. Where's its mother? Perhaps it needs her. "Its mother only sees them to nurse and for a few hours of socialization. I usually raise these dogs for racing and hunting, not for cuddling. It's cruel to keep it from its mother." The assassin reached into the shadow and scooped the puppy into her arms. She held it against her chest. "I won't let you harm it." "If its spirit is strange," Nehemia offered, "it would be a burden." "A burden to whom?" "It's nothing to be upset about," Dorian said. "Plenty of dogs are painlessly laid to rest each day. I don't see why would you object to that." "Well, don't kill this one," she said. "Let me keep it, if only so you don't kill it." This is just such a cute moment, and this interaction kind of reflects Selena's own life in a sense. It hit me in the heart because Selena is asking Dorian why she would want to kill the dog when it did nothing at all. And when she does become the king's champion, she doesn't kill people because she has no reason to. Also, asking where the puppy's mom is, like, our girl really needs a hug from her own mother right now. And I think that's so cute.
Yeah.
And also mentioning, like, the temperament part, like, Selena could be called temperamental, I guess.
Yeah.
But Fleetfoot
And she can't help being the way she is either.
She can't. Like, Fleetfoot is literally like the dog version of Selena. And that wraps up our deep dive into chapters 25 through 34 of Throne of Glass. We hope you enjoyed our analysis and theories. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok, where our handle is @BookishRealmsPod.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on these chapters, so drop us a comment or send us a message. Also, leave us a rating if you like what you heard. It really helps us out.
Join us in 2 weeks when we'll be discussing chapters 35 through 43. Until then, keep reading, Assassins.
Bye!